Welcome back to Discussions. As you can tell, we're actually in a very new location, a new environment. I'm so happy to say we've partnered with Al Mashtal, and I'm really honored to say a special thank you to Her Royal Highness Princess Noura for supporting Discussions and the wonderful team at Al Mashtal that helped make this episode possible. Thank you for your support. We could not have done it without you. Without further ado, here is our Discussions. Welcome back to Discussions. It's happening, it's finally happening. I have the one, the only, the very talented and very nice Remaz. Thank you so much for joining me. Remaz is an award-winning, I want to highlight this keyword, multiple, mashallah alayha, award-winning international musician. She is a soprano, she is a flautist, and she's also a part of the Saudi National Orchestra. And I'm incredibly privileged to have her on Discussions. Remaz, thank you so much for joining me.
Lama, thank you so much for having me. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you what it means to be here with you today. Fun fact for you, I don't know if I've already told you, I've been following you on TikTok for years and years and years. So this is kind of a full circle moment for me. And it's always just such a pleasure to be in spaces with people like you. So thank you.
No, I'm honestly so honored. I've been looking forward to this interview. I told my mom about this interview. We were just saying that. I told so many people about this interview because genuinely it goes without saying, like, I'm going to talk to the camera as well. You know, when I think of the next generation of Saudi leaders, you know, we have the legends that we already know in Saudi, the role models we look up to. So when we think about the future generations, you know, of Saudi that are, you know, working as role models, and I look at the culture and arts sector, I immediately think of you. You know, mashallah alayki, I think of you.
Bless you, you're so kind. Thank you so much. And likewise, honestly, truly, everything that you're doing. And I just want to, you know, take a minute and say thank you as a member of this community at large for having such an amazing platform to highlight people. And I really look forward to watching all of these episodes, really.
Likewise. So I had a list of questions that I wanted to start this conversation with, this discussion, shall I say, you know, pun intended. But before we jumped in, you know, before we started filming, we were talking about your background. And I noticed there's a lot of similarities between your upbringing and mine.
Parallel lives, just a
SubhanAllah.
few state lines away.
SubhanAllah. And then very, very similar story as well. Yes. And I grew up in Texas. For those that don't know, I grew up in Texas. We moved there when I was 5 or 6 years old. Your story was very similar.
Similarly, we just made the move to California instead of Texas. But I mean, same thing. I was really young when my family first moved to the States. And, you know, I spent a lot of time there up until I graduated high school, and then a little bit of time after that. Like I told you, you know, my parents moved back to Saudi kind of at the beginning of really all of these changes that have happened, you know, over the last few years. And I think that like you, I think it makes up a lot of who we are, this aspect of kind of having these dual culture or dual lives, I guess, that we've lived, you know, throughout. So, yeah.
Perfect. We have to cut for a minute. We'll just jump back in. Okay. So we stopped at high school. So you went to high school in California.
Yeah, up until high school, yeah.
And then what was that like for you, that experience?
Yeah, so it was amazing. I mean, my parents, they put me through performing art schools just in general. It started when I was in the 3rd grade, I guess when we first moved, 2nd grade. They specifically chose the schools that I went to because they were performing art magnet schools. Basically what that means is, you know, you do normal schoolwork, but it's just so much of it is just music and art. And that was elementary school, middle school, high school. So that was such a blessing, you know, and to be able to grow up in a community of musicians from day one, I think has really, really shaped my experience and shaped my background in such a unique way that I'm really, really glad about. Specifically high school. I will give a shout out to Lincoln High School. But it really, that time in my life really, I think made me the artist that I am today, or the musician that I am today. It's just so multicultural, so multifaceted, so diverse to be in, you know, the heart of the Bay Area in California. And I still carry that with me, you know. It's been a long time since high school, I guess at this point, about 10 years, I guess. But, you know, I still carry that time with me, I think, up until today. And it's really, really made me who I am, yeah.
No, I completely agree with you. I remember my high school days. I think they influenced who I am today more than anything.
Yeah.
I was in speech and debate for the first year, and then I immediately like went in and became captain, and I was
Oh,
heavily
wow.
in the world of politics, like,
Yeah.
and everything I studied was history and politics, international affairs, and the Model UN. Do you remember Model
That's
getting dressed
hilarious.
up in
Lemma, do we
suits?
have the same parents?
I
That's so
think we
funny.
do.
Yeah,
That's what
really
my mom
similarly.
was like.
Yeah.
You're gonna enter every club, and then you're gonna be president and captain of every single club, and that's subhanallah.
SubhanAllah. Yeah, yeah. And I can definitely see you doing that.
It really shapes who you are. It
Yeah,
shapes your adulthood, especially those like very pivotal years. It
exactly.
kind of shapes who you were.
Exactly. And I think, in my case, it also really taught me the meaning of community early on. Early on in my life, I learned the true value of what it means to be in a group of people, at small, at large, medium-sized, whatever. And that word community, I think, maybe the listeners will get tired of me saying this word. I think I'll be repeating this word a lot this episode. But yeah, so yeah, I am grateful for that time, obviously, in my life. And then, when my parents made the move back to Saudi, I actually ended up going to the UAE for a bit, where I similarly studied international relations. So I do have also the interest in politics, just like you. There was a dream one day to be a big shot attorney, lawyer, legally blonde, all of that. And I think a huge aspect of that was also just never really knowing if there was going to be a career in music ever in Saudi. And I never wanted to close that door for myself. I never wanted to close the door of coming back to Saudi and working here and, giving back to the community here. So I always wanted to kind of just keep that safety in my pocket, let's say, which is why I didn't study music fully. I mean, I have a minor in music, but I didn't initially study music as a degree. But again, wouldn't really change it for anything at this point. Yeah.
Can I just say, I'm not surprised that you studied international affairs or foreign affairs. It really shows, and it makes more sense in my mind now, because mashallah, I look at you, and I don't know if you realize this or not, but you're really showcasing what Saudi has to offer on a global level. When they see you perform, and you're going to Sydney Opera House next week, right, to perform, mashallah.
Yes, next
when
week.
People see you on that stage, and they see that association with Saudi, and this is a Saudi woman representing the kingdom.
Exactly.
It's such an important soft power in diplomacy, and it really makes sense now that you have that background, mashallah, because in my mind, you're this unofficial ambassador in music, representing the kingdom, representing our values, our culture, our talented youth and what they have to offer. Mashallah, Remaz, and he goes without saying, I'm so proud of you.
Bless you, Lemma. Really, likewise. And I mean, that's the goal, right? That's the dream. You and I, like we said, we're both raised in the West, so we know the perceptions that the West has about, this country and our home, let's say. So we know those perceptions really, really well. And I think I've carried that with me for a really long time. And to be a part of the change now, and to be a part of building long-lasting legacies, and like you said, any opportunity I get to represent this great country, I'm going to try to do that, with a big smile on my face, and to just kind of show people that, like, hey, there's so many of us here. There's so many Saudis that exist in Saudi and outside of Saudi. And I think it's really important that the world starts to see the different faces that exist in this country, and the different backgrounds and the different abilities and skills. And on just kind of like a more micro aspect, if one person sees me on a stage and says, "Oh, that's cool, let me try," that's it. That's the goal. That's the goal.
Exactly.
So
while I was driving here this morning, I was thinking, I want every episode of discussions to have an intent, to have an impact. Anyone can buy podcast equipment, open a camera and start. And I don't want to be just, I don't want to post another video online, add to like the numerous amount of podcasts that already exists. There's no point unless I'm actually contributing something.
Absolutely.
So I was driving and I was thinking, I was like, what is my intention with this episode? What do I want to kind of come across in this episode with Remaz? And I really want it to be educational, like you said. If someone watches a clip of you singing, we'll insert a clip of, where's our videographer? We'll insert a clip of you singing. If someone watches that clip and goes, wow, she's Saudiya, she's from Saudiya, I can do that. I can do what she's doing on a global stage, perform in the Sydney Opera House.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is my mission.
And that is the core of it for me, I think. And that is the core of I think really everything I do or try to do. With my work with the Saudi National Orchestra, with everything I do just for my own musical career, to carry that intention. Intention is such a powerful word, and I'm really, really thank you for saying that. To move with intention, I think is one of the more important things that you can do or should do as an artist, creative, journalist, whatever, like in really whatever sphere that you lie in. Moving with intention, I think, is what shows authenticity. And I think we really do always try to strive for authenticity throughout all of this. But on the aspect of education, thank you for bringing that up also. I think opportunity that was presented to me just because where I grew up and where I lived, music was always education for me. And it kind of grew up parallel to my life. And I carried that with me, just along the way up until I got to college afterwards. And that's really just something that I am so glad to see happening here. And to have that start from younger kids and younger minds is really kind of the push that we're trying to make with this community, with the music community, with children, with what have you. So yeah.
I've seen it actively, even as a journalist. I've seen, the work that the Saudi Music Hub is doing.
Absolutely.
Music Commission.
Exactly.
They're bringing in, I've interviewed a few of the musicians that have come internationally to teach these master classes, and I've attended the classes, and seeing the kids be so excited, asking these questions, playing these new instruments they've never played before.
Exactly.
I think it's so amazing what Suradia is doing, to provide this opportunity for the next generation to pursue their dreams. Not just, we're talking about goals, whether it's education or traditional, but even maybe not so traditional dreams that they can pursue.
Exactly.
It's so beautiful.
And I think the mindset of that is also changing nowadays. I think the idea of music has always been a little bit taboo, especially for learning music education in a formal setting. And all of that's really changing now. And it's really inspiring to see the things that I didn't know I needed to be here in Saudi now finally happening for, like I said, the kids of this generation and hopefully the next and the next and the next.
Yeah, I think it's so amazing.
Yeah.
We talk about music not being, not being so taboo now. But before then, when you first decided, I want to jump back. Let's jump back to university. You said you essentially didn't study music. It was your minor.
Yeah, it was.
So what made you decide, hey, I can actually pursue this as a career full time? Was that in Dubai or were you in Riyadh during that time?
So no, it was in Dubai. The first thing that I ever participated in with music that had anything to do with Saudi was at the Saudi Pavilion at Expo 2020 in Dubai. Wow. But before then, I've always worked. I've always been, I do the odd jobs here and there, volunteer work, camp counseling, back when we, lived over there.
We're the same person.
Exactly. Yeah. Volunteering, whatever, what have you. And then when I got to Dubai, I found a really interesting time and a really interesting space to be kind of like a little freelance musician just while I was studying. And that was really the first year. And then my second year of university, I auditioned for Firdaus Orchestra in Dubai, which was a brand new initiative with Expo 2020. And that was the Middle East's first all-women's symphonic orchestra. Yeah, which is really, really cool to be a part of. And I was with them for a few years. And that's kind of where I found that I can actually have a career in this and actually do this full time. And be able to look forward to more music stuff in my career rather than, like I said before, having a safety net all the time. Yeah. So it started there. It started in the UAE. Yeah.
We talked about this kind of off camera, and I didn't want to ask any intrusive questions because
please,
it's not me. It's not me. I always want to make sure I'm polite and make people feel comfortable. But growing up in the West, I had so many friends that wanted to be, painters, artists, musicians, but there was this common mentality of the starving artist, or how feasible is it financially? Yeah. I mean, even on a parental level. If I had children, I'm not married, but if I got married and had children in the future, for me, I would be, not so concerned, but a little bit hesitant if they told me I want to be a singer, because I wonder, how secure is their future?
Absolutely.
Now, obviously, it's changing completely.
Absolutely, yeah.
But initially for you, was there any hesitation, and how did you overcome that? And also, is it feasible financially to be a musician?
Yeah. Was there hesitation? Absolutely. My God, I think there's been hesitation so many times in my life, and I think it's important to highlight that, actually, that you should hesitate. Sometimes you should take a second to be like, okay, is what I'm doing serving me? Not just community, whatever, what have you, but is what I'm doing serving me? And I think at that time in my life, at that time in history, going into music would not have served me, and I think that the path that I did go down on was the best possible course of action, I think, now looking back. And the hesitancy did come from the financial feasibility of it. Because at the end of the day, you need to secure yourself, especially, us women working in, male-dominated industries just in general, not just music. You always need to think about that. You always need to say, okay, if I'm in a situation where this is my only source of income, is that feasible? And my answer to that is always going to be the same. You should try. You should try, because look at history. Look at all of the great legends, the great musicians of our time, the great artists, painters, architects. A lot of them didn't have a dollar to their name, when they started. A lot of people began with, better positions and didn't go anywhere. So I don't think it's a mutually exclusive rule or anything that you need to specifically always be so afraid of. You never know. You should always try. But yeah, and I think specifically if we're going to look at this topic here in Saudi, I think that it is so much more feasible than it was in the past. Just when we look at these programs that are being rolled out, I mean, shout out Music Commission for everything that they're doing with, like I said earlier, about music education outreach and all of that. Now people are just so much more equipped to make it into a career, where I think before it was the lack of opportunity to make it into a formal, like I said, career. And I think that there's just so many more opportunities nowadays where it definitely is more feasible than it was. Social media is also a really big variable in this equation nowadays. I know so many people, I think you probably know a lot of people that they've got their starts on Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And I think it's such a powerful tool to use. Unfortunately, I have not cracked the code yet. I'm still working on myself on that aspect, but I think it's such a helpful tool. And look for allies. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, but you were telling me about the power of social media.
Yes.
You said you haven't cracked the code.
No,
I don't believe that, respectfully, because I looked through your Instagram. I was like, she is amazing. How is she not on every single podcast in the entire world? I need to have her on mine. Yeah.
Gosh, you're so sweet. Capitalize on that and look for allies. That's what we're so blessed with the music community here. That's actually, I don't want to get too off topic, but that's actually one of the things that surprised me the most when I first moved to Riyadh in September 2023, not that long ago. I got here and I was like, oh, everybody just knows everybody, And I think that there's such a power in that. Everybody's friends. Everybody knows everybody. If you need anything, you want to make a song from scratch, you have no idea where to start, you need to know one person. And that person will connect you to a web of high quality, and I say that in bold print, high quality talent that is just at your fingertips here, because it's such a tight-knit community fueled by brotherhood. Yeah. And that doesn't exist in a lot of places that I've been in the world. It doesn't exist like that. And I think going back to the whole financial aspect of being a musician, look for allies in the community. Look for people to help you with those things. There are so many people that are so tech savvy with social media, but also really financially literate that also do music. Look for them, look into yourself, look for your own strengths. Where can you, push yourself in different kinds of industries within the music or arts industry to find different sources of income or streams of income. I think the possibilities are endless. And yeah, consistency is also really, really important with social media, with art, with all of this in general. Yeah,
I agree. I have 2 points to make with what you said, Bella. I'm just like bullet points in my head because you're making so many interesting and wonderful points. On the topic of Saudi as a whole, the startup community here is insane. It's amazing. Yes. And like you said, there's so much support. If you go somewhere, I think I think it goes back to Saudi values and of wanting to help.
Exactly,
It's instilled within us. And
Yeah.
subhanAllah, we were raised outside in the West, you and I, but we still have these core Saudi values that I think will never go away.
And don't you feel like since being back here, you've only held on to them stronger?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah,
Exactly.
It's only gotten deeper,
It
I
has.
think. Yeah.
It has. I completely agree to where we want to help each other. Yani, if someone comes to me, I get so many LinkedIn messages, Nama, what advice would you give in media? And it's so easy to respond. You want to help, you want to reply, you want to connect people to this person and that person, because this is who we are in Saudi.
Yeah.
Your growth is my growth, and vice versa.
Exactly.
And I really admire I don't have this mentality, and I think you don't either. I've noticed it. This mentality of like, oh, well, if I give them this opportunity, they'll excel farther than me. You don't have this, I've noticed, and neither do I, which is really what I admire.
Absolutely. And to that, I think specifically for music, God, there's so much room. Yes. There's so much room for everybody. Like, that's what I wish more people understood.
I agree.
We just started. Like, the industry is a baby. It's in its infancy stage. Like, it's such an open field that really has space for everybody. So, and how would it ever be bad for me if there were more people to help everybody in the community, you know? And I think this goes back to your idea of being in a kind of ambassador like platform sometimes, or position. I mean, you obviously, with everything that you're doing, I see you with like every world leader just casually on a Tuesday. So like being put in that position, I think you have such a responsibility to show that face to the rest of the world. But I think that responsibility also caters back to the responsibility you have for your people, for the community that you're coming from.
People, you're saying.
I think that there's just a really big responsibility that we have to each other. I think one of the biggest lessons that I have ever learned, that I think has made me who I am and what I do with work, with social life, with family, whatever. Being in a choir changes you. Being in a choir, singing in a choir, it changes something about the way your chromosomes align, I think. Really, I think it does something. There's such a spirituality of being in a choir. And I think singing in choir from such a young age has taught me that, okay, my voice can be loud, but God, what beautiful music is made if we all sing together, you know? And really, really singing in choir specifically has made me carry that along. There's this one specific song that, God, it must have been the 5th grade, something like that. So if I butcher the lyrics, don't kill me. But it starts off with one line of melody, and then one more person adds on top of it, and then et cetera, et cetera. And then you have 28 voices singing in 4-part, 6-part harmony. And I'll sing for you a little part of it. It goes, and let me preface, it's an African-American spiritual. And the point of this spiritual is to call upon our brothers, or in their case, obviously, slaves, fellow slaves, to guide each other and to help each other to find refuge within the plantations. So the song goes, as I went down to the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who can wear the starry crown, good Lord, show me the way. Then you add another voice on top of it, and it goes, oh, brother, let's go down, come on down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That song rings in my head to this day. I said that's 5th grade. That's however long ago. To this day, I hear that melody in my head, and I look at all of the people around me in this community of amazing artists, singers, musicians, what have you, and each voice adds on top of each other, and it's amazing, you know. And I think that that's really, really a core part of doing what I do and wanting to do what I do with all of this. So yeah. And thank you for letting me sing a little bit. I don't know. I felt called.
I almost don't want you to stop singing. I was mesmerized. Mashallah. Did you hear that? It's so good. Because you were singing and then you started talking, and I was like, oh no, keep going. Mashallah. I agree. It goes back to the point you made about community.
Yeah.
And that analogy is so beautiful, how it's so connected. And I think it goes back to everything in life, being able to work together, kind of with all of our diverse differences where we come from different mindsets, but we create this beautiful melody. It's this blending pot.
Exactly. And each voice has a purpose, and each voice has, a contribution to this group. And yeah, and I think that's what it is. Yes.
That's so
Thank
nice.
you.
It's almost like Riyadh. It's a diverse blending pot, and
Yeah.
we're all working together towards,
Exactly.
in Saudi in general, towards Vision 2030. I think
Absolutely.
this is what I compare it to. Wow. You're such a good singer. MashaAllah.
Thanks.
I've never heard you before,
Thank
but
you.
I've never heard it. But I think this is the first time we're meeting in person.
Yes, this is the first time we're meeting in person. Yes.
I've
So
like
forgive me.
stalked you. I've seen your journey.
And I'm a little starstruck today because of all of it.
I'm starstruck, mashallah. I know my job is boring. It's like diplomacy and foreign affairs. And it's mashallah.
Oh my
Thank you.
gosh,
You're
no.
beautiful. Do you know I was in a choir growing up? I'm not as good as you.
But do you know what I mean?
I
Do you know
do.
what I mean
I do.
about the feeling of singing in a group of people?
I
Like
do.
it changes something in the chemicals in your body.
powerful.
Yeah.
You feel it. It gives
Yeah,
you
yeah,
the
yeah.
chills. My mom put me in choir at a young age because I had, she put me in track and field running and then choir. Track and field because I was too competitive. The same with speech and debate. I was too competitive and I needed an outlet. And choir because I was having such a hard time. My teacher said this in group fifth grade and fourth grade. I was in choir because we would have group projects and in the group I would say, no, I'm doing it all. And I would take it all.
Lama.
And yeah, that was me. That was me. Alhamdulillah, I'm better now. Alhamdulillah, much better.
I relate to this so deeply. Yeah.
So my teacher and I had a camp count, like a school counselor, and my teacher got together with my mom and they said, let's put her in a group project, a group effort. And they found choir. And then it forced me to work with a group. I was singing louder than everyone else all the time. But like over time, I learned we coordinate with each other. We're a group. And subhanAllah, like it really changed something in me. This is why I think the pivotal years are so important.
Absolutely.
If you have kids, put them in choir, put them in music, put them in athletics, whatever it is, because it really teaches you values that you use when you're older.
Exactly. A huge thank you to your mom for putting you in music, and thank you to my mom for putting me in music. And really, mothers also are a really important aspect in this, and I say this on Octave all the time on the show I host, calling all parents, please put your kids in music. Please put your kids in music. The research is overwhelming about the benefits of music on a child's life, and then obviously on an adult's life later on. There are certain brain receptors that are activated only through creativity, obviously, and music has been shown to activate those brain receptors so much faster than any other discipline that you can have. Yeah. Okay, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, you were saying the science to back it up.
Yes,
music.
There's so much overwhelming research to back this idea up. So I mean, parents should really, really consider putting their kids in arts in general, but music is a really good outlet also, which I'm sure you've experienced.
Oh, it helped me. It transformed the competitiveness and the need to lead everything, and not the lead. What is a control freak? Okay, there we go.
No, I'd say lead. I'd say lead.
I'd
say lead, and I'm sure you do. I'm sure you did all those group projects better than they could have ever done.
PowerPoints?
Absolutely.
No, immediately. I'll do everything. I don't. Alhamdulillah, choir did help, and it gives you confidence. It teaches you how to be confident in a group, confident alone. Even reading sheet music, I mean, that was very difficult for me in the beginning. But learning that and overcoming that obstacle, it taught me, okay, if I'm able to learn this new language, essentially
essentially language,
I can do anything.
Yeah, and I think another really important aspect of music education also is discipline. I think the majority of the discipline that I've learned in my life, other than, my parents, obviously, shout out to my parents, is through music. It taught me time management, how to respect the art that I'm making. It taught me to be responsible for the part that I have. Going back to this idea of the choir, when you're singing in a choir, playing in an orchestra, you're responsible for the part that you have. And you need to carry that responsibility like so seriously because, like I said, it's this big, beautiful sound that comes from a group. And if one person doesn't know their part, you kind of mess with that sound a little bit. And so that taught me so much responsibility. And I think that is something that you can see translate in a lot of the musicians that I know, is through that, like I said, like learning all of these important like soft skills, also socially and within their families, within their groups of friends, through music. So there's so many benefits to all of this. Yeah,
I agree. If someone at home is watching this video and they have a child, a sibling, or someone young in their family, that they want to put them in music, where would you advise that they start? Choir, or is there a specific instrument that you would advise?
Yeah. Really, I think that each kid, and I've worked with kids a little bit, like I told you a little bit ago, with introducing music theory to children is really important. But I also find that it's really important to let them choose the instrument that kind of draws them in at first. There is something interesting that happens with kids that when their interest is piqued in music, you'll see that a lot of children will choose the instrument that they feel kind of they relate to the most. So a lot of kids are born with just a deep, deep, deep sense for rhythm. And that kid's really almost always going to choose a drum set to kind of like bang on and get that energy out. And that's a really cool way to start, start with rhythm, for example. Start with introducing a little bit of music theory, but let your children also kind of decide where they want to start with it.
I'm going to be very honest. I had like a list of questions, but we started talking. I think we're at 45 minutes. I'm still at number 1 because
so
we kept, this is the ideal podcast where we just speak naturally. It's not question answer. Well, mashallah alayki Remaz, you're very well spoken, very articulate. You make it easy.
Thank you for having such a welcoming environment. I think it's all thanks to you, really.
This is my goal. I think within journalism, I always say this. I'm training journalists in our office now. We have interns all the time, awesome. Within like foreign affairs and politics. And one thing I think we're lacking, this, I don't want to generalize and say all journalists, but the future generation of journalism, we learn the basics: how to write, how to grammar check, how to do interviews. But it's this lack of empathy at times, because at the end of the day, everyone is born with a skill. Subhanallah, my skill might be just talking to people. I know it's a very simple skill.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not a simple skill, yes.
But your skill, mashallah, is your voice, your music, and the way you carry yourself. I think we all have this responsibility to use our skills for good.
Absolutely.
I want to use my skill to connect people globally. I want to show them what Saudi has to offer, who we are as people. And, hearing people's stories like you, having that empathy, sitting down. I don't have an agenda. We come from, not specifically me and you, but the people I interview in diplomacy, exactly. I might not agree with them on anything except that the sky is blue. That might be the only thing we agree on. Even then, they might not agree the sky is blue. Yeah. It's the fact that we can have a conversation.
Yeah, and connect, yeah.
It's so important, and it's so beautiful. And I think this is a skill that we're losing nowadays, this connectivity and this empathy and this human level of, not the flashy stuff, or I'm getting off topic, but
no, you're not. I think all of this connects at the end of the day. And if we want to apply it to the music sphere or industry or whatever, I think that removing that idea from music and making things be more about the commercial aspect of it is when you lose all the beauty of it, And I think that art is a supplement to society, and art is a mirror of society. Art mirrors what a society is going through, and it supplements these kinds of issues that you're saying. Like, just because the world is becoming so much more individualistic, whether we like it or not, it's important to look for pockets of empathy where you can find them, and the place that you're in the community that you're growing up in. And it's, people like you, platforms like this, and initiatives like the Saudi National Orchestra and all of that is what does that. And it's cool to finally not just talk about change, but to be a part of it also with all of these things. Not just with, interviewing world leaders like you do, which is insane. I cannot even begin.
It's not that exciting. It's a little boring. I love it, honestly.
No, but you're so incredibly brilliant at it. And I mean, I think that's kind of what it is. Everything that you do, every ingest that you have, every motivation that you have, I think you carry someone with you along, little different pieces of people that you've met through these connections that you're talking about. Like, I don't know. I mean, my friend Anthony Sanchez taught me a breathing technique back in like the 8th grade that I use to this day. I don't know where he is nowadays, but I use it to this day. I remember my aunt's lasagna that I had before I went and I sang somewhere, and all of those things, you carry those memories, you carry those connections that you've had with people with you. And within honing your craft, I think it's impossible to do it alone, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what type of music or art or culture that you're representing, it's impossible to do it by yourself. You can't. I think it's you just genuinely can. At least I haven't been able to, and I don't want to. I think the biggest thing that I've gotten out of all of this is the community and the connection with people and seeing it manifest in real time. Like I think we're seeing, like you said, with 2030 and all of that. Yeah,
I think it's so important. And there's 2 points I want to like highlight in this conversation. I have this like mentality on my mind, and my mom taught me this at a very young age about, as you're moving forward, pull someone up behind you. And the way I think about it is, we have 2 arms for a reason.
Yes.
I'm striving up, but the right arm should be reaching back to help someone else. Like someone else behind me wants to be a journalist, wants to be in media, wants a podcast. I grab my arm and I pull them up as I'm excelling. This is how the world should work.
Yeah.
We should not be individualistically driven. We should want to help each other remain, together in a group. And this is something I struggled with so much. I'm always used to like, anyone needs help, I'm there. My mom taught us at a very young age, you need to help each other. It doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, help each other. See every opportunity in the world to do good, to be good, to help someone, smiling at someone who's having a bad day.
Exactly.
So we always try to do that, but this is something I struggled with. I don't know how to ask for help for the longest time. I was very like, I can do it myself. I'm going to do it myself. And even with discussions, like, I don't really say this a lot, but discussions was a concept I dreamed up in 2021.
Wow.
And I just thought it'd never be possible. I don't know videographers. I don't know where we would film. I don't know how we would conduct it. The businessy side, the Ministry of Commerce, how we would get the licensing. I didn't know any of that. And finally, my mom said, Nama, you're surrounded by people that want to help you.
Exactly.
You're surrounded by people that want to care for you.
Exactly.
Just ask them.
Exactly.
And so I was so uncomfortable. The first person I asked for advice, and SubhanAllah, I reached out to our amazing videographer. I asked him, and he's like, why didn't you ask me before? And so it's SubhanAllah, everything works out if you just ask for help. Like, I'm going to address the audience, Yani. People want to help you. And the worst thing, if they don't want to help you, the worst thing they say is no. Or they don't reply. Did that hurt me? No, alhamdulillah.
No, not at all.
And you need the word, just ask for help.
Exactly.
People want to help. And then on the other side, I just hit the mic. On the other side, help those around you. Okay, you're not going to lose out on an opportunity by helping someone, by advising someone, by giving them there's this like I'm not really into the world of manifestation that much, but yani, if something is meant for you, it's for you.
Yes,
it's always for you. It's written for you. Yani, subhanallah, everything is written for you. No one will ever take away an opportunity, but you're not losing anything by helping someone else.
Exactly.
So that's something I really want to like kind of emphasize with discussions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're doing a great job with highlighting that with the platform that you have and giving people the opportunity to come and blab and yap at you for a little bit. And like you said, if something is meant for you, it's meant for you. I love the word sa'i.
Yeah.
Don't know how to translate that in English, but the word sa'i means to, go after something and to actually put intention in the تسعي للشغلة أو تسعي للشيء, or to move towards it. And I think that's a really, really important thing to also keep in mind while working for these opportunities, to risk it all.
Yes.
Risk it within reason, but risk it and have a little bit of tawakkul, sa'i, with these things, and what's meant for you will always find you. I think that goes to say with careers as well. Everything
in the world. And with taking chances, taking risks, I think this is what's so beautiful about being in your 20s and 30s. Obviously everyone's on a different timeline in this world. Exactly. We're all on a different train, I like to say. They're parallel, but they're different trains. Take chances early on. I think it's going to be it would be unrealistic if I told you take chances in your 70s and 60s. Yes, of course, still do it, but it's easier to do it early on. What better day than today?
Exactly.
What better day than now?
And I think another thing that I will say in that vein, do it before you're ready, right?
I like that.
Do it a little bit before you're ready. Not too much before you're ready, so that you don't, hurt yourself along the way, but do it before you're ready. A little bit right before you feel like it's completely ready to go, push it through. Start the podcast, write that song, go sing at that open mic, write that blog, open that Instagram page, do it a little bit before you're ready, because you really just never know.
You never be ready as well.
And you're also just never going to, at least not in my case, I am
Perfectionist.
As huge. Huge perfectionist. And that's gotten in my way a whole lot, I think, in my life. And to get over that, I always try to tell myself that all of this, like we said, it's about connection rather than perfection. And nothing is ever going to be perfect. Art is never going to be perfect. And that's the beauty of it, right? I mean, we're not really looking for cookie cutter art. We're in the middle of the Saudi Renaissance right now.
The Renaissance is an amazing word for it. It is.
I mean, we're at the peak, I think, of the Saudi Renaissance. If we were comparing it to the European Renaissance right now, Michelangelo just painted the Sistine Chapel and we're all going to the viewing party, you know, like we're in the thick of things right now. So let your art, let your output reflect that. Let it reflect the great time that we're in, you know, and that also comes with its own fair share of, let's say, little bumps and obstacles here and there.
Challenges, but you learn and you adjust. I think I'm not going to say his name just out of privacy, but I was doing a job interview back in the day, a few years ago, with a CEO who's, you know, who owns, I don't want to say what restaurant, but a bunch of franchises of one restaurant in Saudi that's very well known. And it was a job interview. And he was asking me, you know, what do you want to do with your life? What's your goal? What's your mission? And I told him, you know, the idea of like going into media, the idea of one day having a show. And this was like a huge dream, nothing to do with the job I was interviewing for at the time. He told me, what are you waiting for? And I said, I don't know. I don't have the resources. I'm not ready. He said, one thing I really admire about Western style businesses, whether it's startups or CEOs, is they don't wait until everything's perfect. They start their business and they adjust as they go with the upcoming obstacles. My issue is I'm an extreme perfectionist. Everything needs to be perfect and detailed. So I was like, you know, khalas, let's just start. 2025, I've been pushing this dream for 5 years. Going on 5 years. I was like, let's just start. Adjust as we go.
Do it and adjust as we go. Exactly.
It's the best piece of advice. Like you said, just start.
Just start a little bit before you're ready. And like you said, like nothing's ever going to be complete. Nothing's ever going to be complete. And another thing that I personally struggle with is imposter syndrome, right? Don't let imposter syndrome get in your way ever. Because I promise you, anybody that you meet anywhere in the world really feels at least a little bit of imposter syndrome too. So don't let these kinds of negative feelings get in your way, and you know, really push with what you're trying to hone, with the craft that you're trying to master. Doesn't matter what it is. Consistency, and to not be satisfied with average, to not be satisfied with mediocrity, you know, I think is a really important driving force, I think, for me. That doesn't mean strive for perfection. Like we said, nothing's ever going to be perfect, but always strive to be better than you were yesterday. Just yesterday. I'm not even talking about years and years, just yesterday. And I think that's a really good place to start. It's a good place to start with anything. I think it's helped me a lot through the years.
Exactly. Small changes. On the topic of imposter syndrome, I think I personally get a lot of Instagram DMs and LinkedIn DMs about people that feel maybe not as confident to pursue a career because they look at these top level leaders. I'm talking about the world in foreign affairs and diplomacy. They look at these people and they're like, oh, I can't accomplish what they did. They're already doing this at this age. I just want to say to the audience at home and to everyone in general, this is our first time living. No one knows completely what they're doing 100%. Even me, I might look like I have it together. I might look like, oh, she's interviewing leaders. But you don't see what's happening behind the scenes, the craziness, the hecticness, the planning, the lack of sleep. It just looks like a well-oiled, perfect machine. So don't always strive for perfection because this is everyone's first time living. No one knows completely what they're doing 100%. We just kind of pretend like we do.
And we just make it a little bit, you know. There's definitely an aspect of you got to fake it till you make it, just a bit,
Yeah, but even as you're faking it till you're making it, and you're actively working towards the future and adjusting it, I think it's so important.
Yeah, this was on the table. I'm just going to get rid of it.
Yeah, you're so good. But this is very true. No one knows what they're doing completely. We're all like adjusting as we go. We're learning as we go. Even your favorite celebrities, your favorite artists,
of course.
No one's fully perfect.
Yeah. So and adaptability, like you said.
Oh my goodness, adaptability. I like that you said that. That's so important.
Yeah.
Such an important skill. I'm gonna flip the page. I'm gonna go to the next question because I think Yeah, I think we've answered a lot of these.
Yes,
I mean,
I think we have
accidentally.
accidentally spoken about a lot of these already.
Okay, there's one good question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, were there any musicians that you looked up to growing up, that you looked at and you said, I want to be them one day?
Oh gosh, there's been so many. I think too many to count, really. But specifically, I want to call back to this girl. Now, I don't know her name. I don't know who she is, where she is, whatever. But she must have been, I don't know, she was in college at San Jose State University in their voice program, in their opera program. And I remember, I think it must have been a school trip, or maybe my parents took me to like a student recital that was going on at the university. My dad went to San Jose State. And I remember going and she was in, first of all, a red dress with like ruffles on it. And she was blonde. She had really long blonde hair. And she was like really, really tan, tan skin girl. And she was singing O mio babbino caro by Puccini, which is a really popular soprano aria. And I think that was the moment I said, "Oh, I'm going to do that someday. I'm gonna, whatever you're doing right now, I want in on that. I want in all of that. I'm going to do that someday." And yeah, and then I just recently performed that aria in Russia. So for, like I said, full circle moment. I carry these people with me everywhere I go. I had a choir teacher also at some point. Her name was Miss K, who recently passed away, but she used to always have this saying. She said, "You need to grow up, or else I'm going to drop kick you through the goalpost of life." Right? Like you need to grow up and learn what you need to be doing, and learn the discipline of all of this. And you know, that's obviously a little extreme. May God rest her soul.
I was waiting for you to say something inspirational.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, not that lady.
It works,
she was strong, and she was iron fist, and she made me better. She made me so much better. But yeah, she used to always say that, where it's like, you're always going to get drop kicked through life, like whether you want to or not. You know, you need to grow up, or else you're just going to. So, yeah. So like, yeah, like that's what I mean. Like I carry these things with me. And yeah, I don't know how far we've deviated from the original question, but
no, you're good.
But yeah, I think there's been a lot of people that I've wanted to be like, and she's a person that I'd want to be like. Yeah.
And you don't know her. It was just from a simple kind of glance.
I have no idea who she is now, but I remember that so clearly. And yeah, kind of wanted to, let me do that one day.
And you did in Russia recently.
Yes.
While you were in Russia, you received the Bravo Award, right?
Yes.
What is it? The Best Musician of 2025?
So Best Classical Performer of 2025 with the Bravo Awards, where I was nominated for that category in opera, and there was 5 other nominations in that category, and I won that category.
That's amazing. The only Saudi, I imagine, in that category.
Yeah, I think it's the first time Saudi's been represented at this award. It's 25 plus countries every year, and it takes place at the Bolshoi Theater in Moscow, which is, I can't begin to even explain to you that space and being in that space and what that's like. But yeah, and it was a really cool opportunity and a cool recognition to kind of get, and I'm proud to represent. Yeah,
that's amazing. I think we talked about this briefly, but if you weren't a musician, if you didn't pursue this career, what would you want to be instead?
Yeah, I think, like I said, like I did have this dream of going to law school, and I will say that dream's not dead. Like I do so much music now, and I'm so happy with where my career is going, and I'm always going to want to keep pushing through, and eventually kind of solidify that, like I said, with community outreach and having my own school and having my own art school, or something that I can use to give back to where I come from, which is here. But I think that dream it's not completely dead. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll go back to law school. Yeah.
Do you want us to know something funny?
Yes.
I have the same dream.
Yes. Okay. Maybe we'll go back to law school together.
We'll just do the Legally Blonde thing. And
there we go.
Mine is human rights law. I would love to pursue a career in human rights law. I think that would be my dream.
Amazing. That's amazing. Yeah.
I think that that dream was piqued when I worked closely with KS Relief and the humanitarian work they've done globally. Yeah. Shout out to KS Relief. I'm in love with everything they're doing, mashallah. Okay, biggest challenges you faced in your career in music?
Okay. Maintaining authenticity and maintaining femininity with what I do and where I am. And also just proving that women deserve a say in decision making. I think that's one of the bigger aspects that I've kind of faced since starting in music. I think that the move to Saudi has made me realize that there is a way forward. I think that I don't face a lot of those issues that I've faced in the past here, actually, thankfully. But I think just in general, and I think historically, specifically with classical music, it's always like the women sing, and they're these big opera divas, and the Maria Callas, whoever, Renee Fleming, all of those names. But then in backstage, it's nobody's actually letting them make a choice ever, or have any really say over creative process, creative control. Like that's always been such a male-dominated field. And getting into it, I think that that's something that I've really had to juggle. But yeah, I think there is definitely a way forward. At least with me realizing that you kind of have to take the place that you need to take, in especially if we're having this conversation about women being included in these spaces. You kind of just have to grab it a little bit
and take it.
Yeah, and kind of take it. Yeah.
I like that you made the point about femininity. This is something I struggled with working in politics. I mean, I found myself one year just very rigid and very cold, and I was like, "This isn't Lama. I'm losing myself."
Exactly.
And it's difficult to find that balance. What's your ultimate dream? If there was no obstacles, the sky is the limit. Where do you see yourself?
Oh gosh.
If you want to say, of course, you don't have to say.
My ultimate dream is to have a music school. I think that that's my ultimate dream right now. I really, really want to someday, start my own institute or institution, at a good D, something small that I can, kind of give the opportunities that I've had back. But really, most importantly, I want it to be free. I want it to be completely nonprofit.
Accessible.
Because I saw the benefits of having that opportunity, and it had just such amazing implications on my life, and I want that for people. Definitely,
I agree.
I want that for the next generation. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say something. Music Commission, Saudi Music Hub. Anyone watching this? Any private investors?
Give me a call.
I can't think of anyone better.
Give me a call.
With a more pure intention of helping people, of spreading music, teaching children the values and importance of music than Remaz. Someone give her a school.
Somebody give me a call.
Someone watching this. I'm serious. DM me, message me. I'll connect you. She's the right person to give this platform to. Inshallah. We'll make it happen. Don't worry. We'll make it happen. I promise. What's the biggest misconception people might have about what you do?
Is that it's easy. I think that's a misconception that's had about the arts just in general. Excuse me. There's sometimes where they'll have like a really long day and a hard day, and then you'll be saying, "Oh, it's been such a long day at work, and I've had a really and there's always gonna be somebody that says, "Oh, like you like make music, you love it though,
It's still exhausting.
Of course, I love it, but the biggest misconception is that there's no structure to it, and there's no discipline, and there's no responsibility. Like there is so much that goes into music that has nothing to do with actually playing a song, and especially with what I'm doing now with the Saudi Orchestra and my managerial role with them, and then also being in the group, and then also doing all the things that I do on the side. You need to have a lot of discipline in order to make that happen. And that's I think the biggest misconception about doing music, is that it's just easy until you show up and you do what you love and you leave. No, because the reality is some days you don't love it. Yeah. Some days you hate it. Some days it's like, excuse me.
It's difficult.
Some days you
burnout. Not to mention burnout.
Not to mention burnout. But also, some days you show up and it's like, no, I don't love my art every day, and you don't have to. I think that that's something that I wish more musicians knew, and I wish more people starting out knew. You don't need to love it all the time. Some days you're gonna not be in the mood. Some days you're not gonna be, but you need to believe in it enough where you do choose to do it even on the days that you don't love it.
Okay, I want to ask you about this topic. Okay, stage fright. Do you ever get stage fright, and how do you navigate it?
Yeah, so absolutely. course I get stage fright. It's scary sometimes, you know, and I think it's okay that it's scary. I think over the years I've tried to, at least, or I'm trying to transform that energy into excitement. You know, you can really trick your brain into believing things that aren't true if you kind of tell it what to do. So it's like, take that feeling of stage fright and you just say, oh my God, no, this is excitement. Like, you translate that into excitement, and that shows on stage. You get on stage and sometimes I'll be shaking in my boots, like just completely just shivering. And then I'll get off stage and somebody will tell me like, oh, you look so calm. You look like you're doing so easily. And it's like, really? Like, I don't feel that way inside. But yeah, I think it's good to harness that energy and to use it into excitement. And to motivation. Yeah. But stage fright is very real and it's very okay. Yeah.
It happens. For me, what I do is before I get on stage, I leave Lemma at the door and I become journalist. Just journalist. No name.
It's
so
no
weird.
identity.
It's like your new person.
Exactly. Ambiguous. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's exactly it.
Okay, let's skip around. I have lots of questions. And okay, we talked about social media.
Yeah.
Ooh, do you have go-to karaoke song?
Oh my gosh. You're from the South. I do a Mean Before He Cheats by Carrie Underwood.
No, you don't.
That is my number one.
I want to hear a little bit.
That is my
Can we hear a little
one.
bit? Just like a snippet. Just
oh my gosh.
So good. With the accent. Do the accent.
It's a little bit too early for Carrie Underwood. But if we ever go karaoke together, then
we have to.
We'll definitely
I'll do.
sing,
mine is Jolene,
cheats.
by the way.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah,
I do Mean Jolene, and I do a few others. I mean, I grew up in the South, so I mean, we have to.
Dolly.
Okay. Let's see. You know what? Okay. We talked about discipline, but what's the most important lesson you've learned in both your personal and professional life?
Yeah. Yeah, I think when I looked at this question earlier, I wrote down community. Again, it's the buzzword of this episode. That's the biggest thing I carry. I think that's my biggest motivation, my biggest kind of goal in all of that. And within that topic, I think one of the bigger lessons that I've learned is to know who you are within that community and believe in that, you know, even if sometimes you're like, oh my God, girl, you're so delusional. Nah, live in your delusion, live in that, be who you are in that community, because your voice matters, your dream matters. It has so much value. No community is complete without each and every single person, you know, and I think standing true in my authenticity in that, I think, is a really big lesson that I've learned. Yeah,
I agree. I'm going to jump around if that's okay. There's one reoccurring question we like to ask all our guests on discussions. Like I said, I want this platform to be educational for those future generations that are hoping to pursue the same that you did. You know, as a musician, as an award-winning international musician, mashallah alayki, what advice would you give someone that wants to pursue the same career?
Start today, not tomorrow. Start now and start small. I think it's so intimidating to jump into something, especially to jump into an art. You know, we tend to live in comparison. We're humans at the end of the day, and pegging yourself to the person next to you and thinking about, oh, they've done X, like you said earlier, like they've done this by this age, I'm never going to be able to. No, you know. Start today, start small. It could start with how to read music, YouTube. That's it. That's all you need, you know, in order to get into the world of music and to look at it as a viable career path. You need to just start somewhere, you know. And like we kind of mentioned earlier, lean on the allies that you have, lean on the people to kind of help guide you on, does this contract make sense? Are they, you know, slighting me on the money that they're offering me? Ask these questions. Don't be embarrassed to, you know, discuss the financial aspect of it. I don't think there's anything wrong with being asked and sharing that information. In order to protect artists, I think in the community, we must be transparent about these things. We must be transparent about what X company is paying for this, you know, set of music. It's really important that we tell each other these things and to lean on each other for that kind of support. So yeah, start small and start with your friends. Ask your friends what they've got, and yeah.
It's so interesting that you brought up the
Absolutely.
money aspect of it, because even in journalism, I mean, I do freelancing, like moderating, hosting events, and I always get other journalists asking me, what do you charge? And I sent them like invoices, past invoices. I'm like, this for this private sector, government, it should be like this. It should be, and I think it's so important. Like with this, there's a TikTok page in the U.S. about salary transparency, and I think it's so important to have these conversations, especially considering if you're youth just starting out, you don't know how much you should be accepting. And then God forbid you sign on, you're in a year-long contract, and then you look around, you're like, oh, I should have received this amount. Oh, I should have received that amount.
Exactly.
It's so important.
Exactly. That's what it is. And I think the like we said, the responsibility lies within us. It's good to have that, especially in an industry like art where there's no precedent here. You know, like we can't say, oh, 10 years ago, this was the standard. No, we're creating the standard now. And I think we're in such a unique position right now in Saudi that in a lot of industries, not just with art and music, we're starting to create the standard today. You know, like we can't really lean on what people have done in the past. And in order to set that standard in a really high quality, but also equitable and fair way, we need to be transparent with each other. So
important.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
I think you're running on time.
I'm so running on time.
This was so incredibly amazing. I wish we had 10 hours of this podcast. I think the comments are going to say, bring her back on for another episode. I'm certain. Is there any last point you want to make towards the audience, advice you want to give them, or any statement you'd like to make?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we've spoken about a lot of things. Yes. So I think we've spoken about a lot of things, but the theme I think of the episode is love your neighbor, love your friends, support your community with these things. Go support local artists, please. Like if that's something that I hope people get out of this episode is the music scene in this country is unlike any other place I've seen. Go support your local artists. Go listen to somebody new, and just kind of get out there. Pick up an instrument. Start learning.
An instrument, literally. Yeah. Remaz, you have been so amazing.
Thank you
for joining me. I want to bring you on for a second episode if you'll allow me. I think your advice is so invaluable. It's amazing.
Bless you.
Thank you for joining us on Discussions. I know this episode was very lengthy, and if it was up to me, it would be 3 days long, nonstop. It would be continuously talking and advice and sharing know-how, sharing experiences, and really stressing this point of community.
Yeah.
Because it's so important, especially in a growing society. Remaz, thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Thanks. Thank you for watching. And thank you again to Al-Mashdad for making this episode possible. This has been Discussions. I look forward to our future discussions together.